everyone, it's Allison. Welcome back to the Tiny Herd. So today I wanted to talk about something that is maybe not super fun, but is an important part of responsible pet ownership, and that is budgeting for your pets. So we're going to talk about saving for vet costs, monthly expenses, getting set up with a new pet, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So, like I said, part of being a responsible pet owner is taking into consideration all of the aspects of pet care besides their day-to-day care. And that includes the financial aspect of taking care of your pet or pets. So the big kind of expense that I think most people think of is the cost of setting up the pet and purchasing or adopting the pet itself. So you know that I advocate for adopting depending on what the pet is and what you're using it for, but say, let's just use the example of you're going to adopt a pair of guinea pigs from your local shelter, which is what I did with Fred and George. So what I would recommend doing is writing out a full list of everything that you're going to need to purchase before you go pick that pet up, those pets up, since we're doing the guinea pig example. So before I went to get Fred and George, I figured out what I needed to do for their cage, if I needed to get food, hay, water bottles, food dishes, hay rack, bedding, all those things, hideys. I can't even think of everything off the top of my head, but I wrote a list of everything that I needed to set up a guinea pig cage. And if you want a full list of what you need to set up a guinea pig, the bare necessities, you can check the link down below to my website, thetinyherd.com, and there is a beginner guinea pig guide and a beginner rabbit guide that has a list of the basic necessities you need. So that'll give you an idea of what you need to set up your first cage and what it could cost you. So write all that out, figure out how much it costs, go on Amazon, check out whatever pet store you want to use. I won't say a pet store name because I don't like pet stores, but that's for a different video. But just check out wherever you're going to get your stuff from, how much it's going to cost you, and total it up. You might have to save for a couple months if you don't have the money right now. That's part of saving up for a pet. And then take into consideration the adoption fee or the purchasing fee for whatever pets you're getting, because you'll have to pay for that as well. So write all that out, take it into consideration, and then save up and make sure you get exactly what you need. That being said, you don't want to get the cheapest of everything. You definitely don't need to get the most expensive of everything. So the things I would think the hardest about are your cage, what food you're buying, what hay you're buying, and probably your hay rack or water bottles would be the things that I would be most worried about. You definitely want your cage to be high quality because you want it to last. I recommend C&C cages. You can check the link in my description. There will be a link to Guinea Pig Cages store where you can buy C&C cages, or there's tons of videos on the internet where you can build your own, which is pretty cheap, which is what I did. So definitely make sure you don't get the cheapest, smallest cage, because you want to make sure you're providing the appropriate housing for your pet. Also do your research on what food you need, because the cheapest pet store food is probably not the healthiest food that you can get. It might cost you a little bit more to get Oxbow, for example, than the pet store brand. So definitely take that into consideration when picking out what you're going to buy as well. And like I said, water bottles and hay racks could be something else that you want to consider investing a little bit more in, because you want those to last. You don't want your water bottle to leak all over your cage. You don't want your hay rack to just let hay go everywhere, because then you'll have to buy even more hay and it'll just waste that way. So just think about what you're buying. Don't just get the cheapest because it's the cheapest, and kind of go from there. So I have notes. Sorry, I keep looking at my notes. I think that's everything for startup costs that I wanted to go over. Just when you're thinking about getting a pet, just make sure you know what it's going to cost, what you really need to have. Do your research before you go get it. That's really just what I wanted to say here. Think about what you're doing before you do it. For example, I really wanted to adopt a hamster that is from the local shelter, but I knew that it wasn't going to be that good for my financial goals right now, so I decided not to do it, and that was probably a good choice because it's just going to add to my pet expenses. So going off of that, let's talk about monthly expenses, because those are what a lot of people don't think about when they want to get a pet. So for my 7 little animals in there, our monthly expenses are hay, pellets, bedding for the guinea pig litter box, the rabbit's litter box, laundry detergent for washing the fleece for the guinea pigs. Veggies are a big expense. We buy veggies once or twice a week usually, so those are things that can add up pretty quickly. We buy 3 different kinds of pellets. We buy 50-pound boxes of hay, which if you only have 2 pets, you're not going to be buying those large quantities, but it is something to take into consideration. So if you're not sure if you can afford the monthly expenses for your pet, then you probably don't need to be getting that pet, because if you can't afford its basic care, then you can't afford to have the pet. That sounds mean, but that's the truth. So make sure you consider what it's going to be monthly wise and add that into your budget. Don't just be like, oh, I will just figure it out as I go along. Make sure you understand what you can afford to pay for your pets, so that you don't end up in a situation where you run out of hay or you can't buy veggies this week, because those are the critical things that your pet needs to live. If you're like me, then you also probably want to spoil your pets, because I enjoy having them and giving them a better life. That's why I enjoy adopting, because they start with a hard life and I can give them a happy, spoiled life. Within reason, of course. So I like having my guinea pigs on fleece. I make all my own fleece to make it a little bit cheaper. I like to buy treats, which again, I buy healthy treats, and use fruit a lot for treats, but consider the cost of those things as well and what it's going to cost you if you want to spoil your pets. Things like forage, treat hays, fruits, toys to chew on, things like that all cost extra, and sometimes they can be a little expensive. So if you do want to spoil your pet, make sure you think about what that's going to cost you as well. I'm guilty in the past of just spending a whole ton of money on things that my pets really didn't need, to be honest. Like, our treat drawer used to be nuts. I have so many Twilight Chinchillas toys, which I super recommend toys from Twilight Chinchillas because they're awesome. But I go a little overboard sometimes. So make sure that you know what you can afford to buy, and don't just buy things because you see people on the internet buying. That's what I do. I see things that people on the internet buy and then I want them for myself. So don't get sucked into that. Think about what you actually need for your pets, what you want to do to spoil your pets, and go with that. You don't have to do everything that everybody else is doing. Your life and your finances are different. Finally, and most importantly, so you better watch this part, vet care is super important. You cannot have a pet and not have a vet lined up, because you will have a medical emergency at some point. I don't care what kind of pet you have. If you haven't had to take your pet to the, unless it's a fish, I guess. I've never taken a fish to the vet, but I've never had a problem with my fish. But if you have any other type of pet, you probably will have to take it to the vet at some point or other, whether it's for checkups, normal shots if you have dogs and cats, guinea pigs get hay pokes, and so many other things can happen. You just never know, especially if you have a lot of them. So you need to think about how you're going to pay for vet care. It drives me nuts on the internet when I see people saying, oh, what do I do with my pet? And can you help me pay for this because I don't have money saved up for vet care? Well, you should have thought about that. I still want to help people when that happens and their pet still needs help, but I don't like when people do that, because you should have thought about that when you decided to get the pet. So what do you do when you don't have the money? Or to make sure you have the money, you save it. So I have a separate savings account that is my vet fund. That's all that goes in there. The money is in there if we need to take a pet to the vet. That's all I put in there. That's all I use that money for. It's saved, it's set aside. The savings account is titled vet fund, so I know I have the money in there when I need it. How much money you need to save depends on where you're located, what your vet charges, what kind of vet you have, how many pets you have. I said what kind of vet you have. What kind of pets you have is what I meant. What kind of pets you have, how many pets you have. That'll affect how much money you need to have saved. So I have 2 bunnies and 5 guinea pigs. So I usually like to have like $1,500. And if that sounds crazy to you, I will tell you how much it cost when I took Mike to the vet last month and what it cost for him to get the care that he had. So he got x-rays done, those were $300. He got a checkup, I mean, he had an ear infection, so that's why we took him, was $60. His blood work was $150, his acupuncture was $40, his cold laser therapy was $30, like I can keep going. His medicine was $45 a bottle, we needed 3 of those. So it really depends on how much your vet charges for those things, because the vet that we went to is very specialized in rabbits, and she has all of the equipment and supplies and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of education. So she's a little bit more expensive for our area than the other vet, but that's where I want to take him because she knows what she's doing. So just keep that in mind. So all said and done, that first vet visit for Mikey to do all his blood work and x-rays and everything was $780. That is why I like having $1,500 for all these little pets, because I've taken Lily to the vet for a hay poke before, and it was, I think, $60 because it was $40 for the checkup and then like $20 for her medicine. Does that add up? No, that's $80. You know what I mean. So my point is, keep in mind that the type and number of animals that you have is going to affect what money you need saved up for vet care. And weird things happen. Like Luna had to have space surgery and that was $800. I have never had any other guinea pig related thing that cost that much. So it really just depends on what the emergency is. And that was for her surgery, her checkup before surgery, that included her x-rays, that included her aftercare, and her follow-up checkup. So that included a lot of things, but it still was expensive. So take that stuff into consideration when you're saving money for vet care. If I just had the bunnies, I probably would save like $1,000. If I had just the guinea pigs, I honestly would probably only save like $600. So it just depends. Consider what kind of pets you have, kind of check around and see if you can kind of figure out how much your local vets cost for specific things. And that's another thing that I am going to mention. Make sure you have a vet lined up before something happens. You don't want to have a guinea pig with a hay poke and you can't get the hay out of their eye and you don't know what to do and you don't know where to take them. Like, that's very stressful for you and very stressful for your pet. So make sure you have a vet lined up for guinea pigs, rabbits, hedgehogs, exotic pets like that. Yes, guinea pigs and rabbits are considered exotic pets. They're not small animals. Small animal vets see dogs and cats. Exotic vets see guinea pigs, rabbits, ferrets, chinchillas, hedgehogs, all those kinds of things. So make sure you have found a vet in your area that sees the type of animal that you have, and it's really a good idea to take them in for a checkup so that your vet can kind of get a baseline of their health on like a normal healthy checkup day. So that can be a cost up front if you want to include that in the vet cost for getting your pet. So this was probably a kind of rambly video again, but I just wanted to touch on those things that I think are most important when it comes to the financial aspects of having pets, especially if you have multiple pets. So I hope you guys got some value out of this video, and hopefully you'll start your vet fund if you haven't already. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Remember, you can now go to our website at thetinyherd.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Everything will be linked down below. Hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!